In our last devotional, we asked the tough question, how could God let that happen? We were talking about the Sandy Hook Elementary tragedy, but not just that tragedy. Anytime we face a personal tragedy or a family member faces a tragedy or our nation, our community faces some sort of evil, we often ask, how could God let that happen? And we talked about 4 truths to keep in mind whenever evil or tragedy strikes. What I want to do is just kind of mention 3 other things, sort of observations based on our last devotional. Here's the first thing. You can ask God hard questions. What we were reminded of is that we can ask God the hard questions. We don't need to be afraid of the answers. We can say, God, why is this happening? Why is this taking place? Some people who are religious, they don't like to ask questions because they're afraid that it'll challenge their assumptions or their view of the world. But the Bible tells us to ask questions because God has answers for us. The book of Isaiah 1:18, God says, "Come now, let us reason together." I love that God says that. He says, if something's troubling you, if you want to understand something, let's reason together. Whether it has to do with the problem of evil or whether it has to do with something like, how can I trust the Bible? God says, use your mind. It's very important for you to understand that being a Christian doesn't mean you turn off your mind, you turn off your brain. Some people are going to try and tell you that's what Christians do, but that's completely untrue. God commands us to think and to use our mind. The second thing I want you to understand is this. You can express your feelings to God. God wants you to express your honest heart feelings. If you are so moved by the tragedy that your heart's just broken and you're maybe even mad, maybe you're mad at God, you can tell God that. He can handle it. He can take your feelings. He's a big God. He's been around for a long time. And what we see in the Bible is that God's people always express their feelings and their emotions to God. We see this in Psalm 13. It says, "How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever?" I mean, could you imagine saying, God, you've forgotten me forever. How long will you hide your face from me? And that's what the psalmist does. And so he's just being real with God, and he's just sharing his heart with God. And you can do that too. If you're really struggling with these questions, just tell God how you feel. And the last thing is, do this. Talk to someone you can trust about your questions. Don't keep it all inside. Talk to someone you can trust. Talk to a friend who's a Christian and is a strong follower of Jesus. I'd say the best is if you could talk to someone who's a little older. Hopefully, so a lot of you have parents that you can talk to about these things. Just talk to your parents about these questions. Say, hey, I'm having a hard time understanding what God was doing here, or why God would allow this. Now, some of you, your parents, maybe they're not Christians. Maybe they're just not at a place where they can help you wrestle through these things. And so it's important to have an adult that you can come to talk about these issues. So this is why you have leaders in your youth group. Talk to leaders in your youth group if you're really struggling or have questions about this or other issues that are going on. I know they would love to talk to you about these things. And if you just don't know who to talk to, you can email us at fusion@alpinechurch.org, or you can reach out to us through our Facebook page and let us know what you're struggling with, and we can put you in contact with someone who would love to talk to you. So I hope this devotional was helpful. Again, remember, use your mind. You can think through these things. You can ask God questions. You can just share God what's on your heart and your feelings, and then be sure to talk to somebody. Don't just go through this alone, but talk to someone about what you feel. And I hope you have just a blessed time with God as you wrestle through these things, and that you really understand God's heart in tragedy.